Okay guys, you know what's coming up, or perhaps you don't know. It's almost Canadian Thanksgiving, so I'm gonna make one of my favorite cakes. I actually wanted to include this cake in my book Layer Up, but I had to cut it, so I'm gonna make it here on the channel. Let's do it. But first, I need to go back to yesterday when I prepared the pastry and the pecan pie for this cake. I'll see you there. Welcome to yesterday. I'm gonna make the pastry for my pecan pie. So to make the pie that goes on top of the cake and to make the discs of pastry that go inside the cake. It's very simple. It only has 4 ingredients: unsalted butter, sugar, flour, and egg yolks. I'm gonna add 2 and then I'm gonna add the other 2 if they will let go of each other. Come on, let's go. Which they won't. It feels a lot like a sugar cookie dough more than it does a typical pie pastry. I'm going to just smooth it into a nice round, and then I'm gonna cut it in 4. And now I'm gonna round each one of these. And now I'm just gonna wash my hands, and then I'm gonna wrap each one of these in plastic and pop them in the fridge to chill for about 20 minutes. So while my dough is chilling, I'm gonna make the pecan pie filling. Again, it's very simple to make. Eggs, brown sugar, corn syrup, melted butter, and vanilla. You can make the filling ahead of time as well as the pastry, so you could make both parts and then bake it the next day, just depending on how much time you have to bake. So I'm gonna start off on low, turn it up to about medium high, and I'm just gonna let it all mix together well for about 3 minutes. It's looking good. It comes together, it's like a little bit frothy and bubbly, not quite frothy, but more bubbly, and it becomes completely opaque. I can keep it in the fridge until tomorrow. So now we're gonna roll out our pastry discs. 3 of them I'm gonna roll into discs which go inside the cake, and the 4th portion will become the shell for the pecan pie in this fluted tart pan. I've made these discs for my apple pie cake and I pricked them. This you don't have to prick because it bakes like a sugar cookie. So for the tart shell, I'm going to roll the base directly onto the bottom of the tart pan. I just put a silicone pad underneath so it won't move around. I'm not putting any flour on the bottom. And now I can roll. Oh, that was a bit much. I was getting excited. You can just pick up the base and hold the knife flush along the sides and then cut away the excess. So if at this point it's too thick for you, or you think it's thicker on one side than another, you can always just sort of adjust, roll it out a little more, and cut away if you need to. And I have to work on the side. So I have this extra dough. I'm gonna do something I always do with fondant, which is roll it into tubes, as I like to say, and then start to lay it in the pan. Okay, and now you wanna make sure your hands have some flour on them. And you can start to press with your fingertips the dough along the edge of the pan, but you're not pressing so hard that you're gonna make it too thin. You want it to maintain the same thickness. And then to avoid the bottom edge being too thick, just make sure your index finger is floured, and we're gonna sort of press inward. Okay, and then you can smooth out the sides. Okay, and now once again, you're gonna use your knife flush to the pan and trim away the excess. Again, if any area looks too thick to you, just sort of work on that area and retrim. Okay, so this is our beautiful pecan pie tart shell, and this also has to be chilled. So now I'm gonna roll out the extra. I just took all the little bits and bobs, kneaded them together. I just wanna roll it out to the same thickness, and then we're gonna cut out some little discs, which we will bake off and use to decorate the cake. When everything is chilled, I'll bake it, and then I'll see you tomorrow in the future. Hello, it's today again. Now I have this pecan pie shell, the pastry is in the tart pan. It's chilled. I have some pecan halves, and then I also have the filling. It gets foamy on top, so I'm going to just whisk it up, and that will take care of that. First thing you want to do is line the tart with pecans. I like to make sure they're all face up just because I think it looks nice. Now you want to pour this mixture on top of your pecans, and you don't want to disturb them. So pour lightly, and I like to just go around in a circle, and we're gonna fill it right to the top. You don't want to overflow it. Give it a moment so it can seep down into all the nooks and crannies. And don't be worried when the mixture covers the pecans because they're going to rise to the top. Now I'm going to carefully carry this to the oven and bake it. If you're afraid of that, you can also set this in your oven, pull the rack out, and pour this mixture on while it's in the oven. My oven's too high to do that, so here I go. So now I have my pecan cakes. These are my vanilla cakes with chopped pecans folded inside. And as usual, I am going to remove them from their pans, level them, and then layer them in two. There you go. Now I'm going to simple syrup these layers, and this is not just plain simple syrup, this is brown sugar simple syrup. I love the way this looks. So now it's time to assemble this beautiful cake. I've put the caramelized side down, and now I'm gonna top this with chocolate ganache and spread it evenly. And now it's time to lay on the first disc of pastry. Remember, we rolled these out yesterday. Look at that, look at that. See how it looks like a big sugar cookie? I wanna top this pastry disc with caramel, but first I have to pipe a ganache fence to make sure that the caramel. What is caramel? You don't want it to be too much because, as you can see, it's much more runny than ganache. Now, if you were to take this to the edge without the fence, what would happen is the caramel would want to pour out the sides of the cake, especially as we keep adding cake layers and it becomes more heavy. When I build cakes like this, I do like to clean up the side, and this really helps me to build it straight up. If you keep leaving the ganache or buttercream or whatever you're using oozing out the sides, sometimes you think you're straight, and later when you go to crumb coat, you can see it's wobbling back and forth. So spread this in an even layer, and it's too firm. You'll know this because it'll be hard to spread and it will just dredge up crumbs. Then you want to handle it the same way you would with buttercream. You're going to pop it in the microwave on defrost, try 10 seconds, gently stir it. And now I'm going to add another pastry disc. So good. You'll know if the cake is unstable because even as you're spreading this, you'll feel it moving back and forth. Any sign of that, you'll want to pop it in the fridge to chill before you continue. Believe me, it's better to go slow than to regret it and try to fix it after. And now I'm going to do it all again. I'm just going to pop this in the fridge while I clean up and just let the ganache firm up, and then I'm gonna crumb coat it officially in brown sugar buttercream. If your ganache is soft, you don't wanna do it right away because they'll just mix together. I'm going to ice this cake now, and then I'm gonna texture it with a silicone brush. It's simple, it's easy, and it looks really great. You'll impress your guests if you're making this for Thanksgiving. Okay, more brown sugar buttercream. You want to make sure to put on enough so that when you scrape, there's some to scrape away without touching the surface of the cake. Okay, now I'm going to use a bench scraper, which you don't have to do. I just like doing it and I'm used to it. Okay. And so to smooth the top, you just want your spatula to be flat, bring it in for a landing, and bring the excess towards the center. You can cause a little bit of a lip along the side just from the pressure of your spatula. So we're just gonna go around lightly, and then we're gonna do this really lightly. I'm happy with this, so now I'm going to move the cake to a beautiful cake stand. And then take this out. Ooh! And this is very forgiving because you can go over it and keep going around the cake. You just don't wanna dig in. So we're using a silicone brush. The bristles are bigger than like a regular pastry brush, and they're gonna leave an indent in the buttercream. Okay, so now I have my pecan pie. Obviously it has a sticky filling. Sometimes it runs over and it can make it difficult to take out. So if that happens, Bernadette to the rescue to help get it out. There we go. Insert your spatula between the metal and the pie, and then you just slowly want to work it in and around. I'm still here, everyone. We're gonna top it with caramel. There you go. Now you have a pie that is topped with caramel, but you can still see the nice sort of pecan pie underneath. It's time to place this delicious caramel-coated pecan pie on top. We're gonna be very careful. And then I'm gonna use these pastry discs, these tiny little discs, to decorate the bottom of the cake, however you want though. I kind of feel like putting a few pecans down at the bottom, so I'm gonna do it. Pecans down at the bottom. Yeah, I'm happy. Oh, yes, there's so much goodness in here. Oh my goodness. Great. Stay there. I need it all. I need cake, pastry, ganache, more cake. He's a little nutty. I like that about him. So here you have it. I made this cake for Canadian Thanksgiving. You can make it for your Thanksgiving, any other holiday. For now, I'm gonna go get myself a bigger fork and a hot cup of coffee. I'll see you next week.